Hello, welcome to my evaluation question 6 on new technologies. My name is George Thornton. The question is, what have you learned about new technologies from the process of constructing this product? Okay, I'll jump right in. One piece of technology we've been using throughout the year is our blogs on Blogger. I've had experience with a couple of different blogging sites before, such as Tumblr. However, I haven't ever used Blogger before. It's very helpful. It enables us to present our piece of work in just a more interesting way than you would in other lessons. And it's also very easy to just flick from one piece of work to the other. Whenever we had done some work, we'd put it up there. Whenever we made changes to the film, we'd write about them. For example, we then went on a trip to Rich Mix, and we just put a little thing about that on Blogger. What else? Okay, we used Facebook, which most people have had experience with before. At least people in our class most certainly would have done. However, not everyone will have had experience with using it in the context of managing a group page. So I have had some experience with this for various music projects I've done, so I've created groups for those. However, this time, of course, I'm creating a film on, which is a little bit different, but the basic principle is the same. So yeah, we used that. That allowed us to give information and regular updates to people who had liked our page. And then also we kind of synchronized the Facebook page with our YouTube account, which is another piece of technology we used. YouTube, as I'm sure most people will know, is just basically a site which allows you to host and watch various videos you have all the rights to. So of course we were able to upload any videos or promos we had for our project. So eventually, of course, our final piece went up there. And so when we synced YouTube with Facebook, whenever we put a video on YouTube, it would then go straight to the Facebook page, along with a little tag which I would write. So yeah, that basically made the whole process of using the two in conjunction a lot easier. What else did we use? We also used Logic 9, Logic 9 Pro even. That was a program I had previous experience with before for music tech. That was it was very useful because it allowed us to put not only to record, of course, or any kind of backing soundtrack, such as let's see, when did we record for Logic 9? In Logic 9, oh yeah, when Karen does the screen, that was a big bit we used, or when we hear the thoughts inside my head when I'm standing on the top of the flat. We recorded those in Logic 9. Not only did it allow us to record them, but it allowed us to put effects on that you can technically put in on Premiere, which is another piece of technology I use, I'll talk about later. So you can technically put them in on Premiere, but the ones on Logic 9 Pro are just a lot better. They sound a lot more professional. So we used Logic 9. Along with Logic, I used a omnidirectional vocal microphone, which is a microphone you'd usually use for any kind of you might use it on a radio program, you might use it on to record a singer's vocals, anything that involves the voice, you'd use an omnidirectional vocal mic for. So I used that in conjunction with Logic 9. And then I mentioned Premiere just now. Premiere I had no experience with before. However, I picked it up quite nice and quickly, I like to think. So I used that to fix various problems, such as when we filmed the sequence of me walking about on the ground looking all emotional, and the section where I'm standing up on the flat, we filmed that all on the same day. However, though we filmed them at different times in the day, and unfortunately it wasn't noticeable to us, but afterwards when we got the filming back, you noticed that it did get a little darker in some of the shots. So I used Premiere, for example, to fiddle with the lighting so that the shots would look more roughly around the same time period. Whereas if I hadn't edited them, it would look like it had suddenly gone from night to daylight, which didn't work very well. So that was good. That was a very useful thing Premiere allowed us to do. And of course, just to sequence it all together. That was what we used Premiere for. To film the actual piece, I used my Lumix DMC G3K. That was a camera I got quite early on this year. Actually, I got it a few days before we started filming, in fact. So I had to learn quite nice and quickly how to use that. I hadn't had any experience before with a camera of such high quality, certainly. It's an HD camera, very, very nice. So I had to learn how to fiddle with things such as the ISO, which affected lighting, and just basic things like learning to zoom nice and smoothly. Although I didn't do all the filming myself, I did some parts, such as when Karen's lying down in the hospital bed, and I filmed the time lapse as well. So when I filmed the time lapse, for example, I had to fiddle with the ISO so that when it got darker, all the stuff on the ground was still visible. If I hadn't fiddled with that, then the water especially wouldn't be particularly in focus or visible. We also used After Effects, which we used to create our THT ident. That came directly after the metronome ident in the film. We created that after we had no experience with it before. So we created that after having watched a little tutorial on Video Copilot, which teaches you how to do various different effects. And we also used it for little, quite minor things such as some blur on the flashback scenes. Another thing that I used was Prezi. Prezi, I was a little bit dubious about at first. I was like, well, why can't you just do a PowerPoint? However, it does look a lot slicker. Instead of just kind of like very harshly cutting from one slide to the other, Prezi has a lot more of a aesthetically pleasing slide from one piece of information to the other, and it's just more interesting to look at, and it keeps you much more engaged. So yeah, I was pleased with how that turned out. I used that to answer, I think I've answered evaluation question 3 with that, and we did a little piece with it earlier on in the year about film openings. SlideShare was a website which allowed us to host PowerPoint presentations. Yeah, so you don't have to put it on a USB or someone has to download the file or anything like that. It's much easier. Oh yeah, we also used a Rode VideoMic Pro, which allowed us basically just to get some ambient background noise. For example, in the scene where I walk past some children playing, we recorded some just some street noise from the school, and we put that in over it because the sound that went with the footage we originally had our cameraman speaking in the background, so we couldn't really use that without editing out his voice, which was impossible without having a sudden cut in the sound, which wouldn't have worked. We also used emails to send updates round to members of the group kind of saying when we were going to film, what we needed to bring, what time we needed to be in places, etc. It's a very simple piece of technology, but without it, we would have still been in near chaos. Okay, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll go into more detail about it now. I also used various apps on my iPhone, which were in conjunction with other pieces of technology I would have already mentioned, such as Facebook and Blogger. It basically just allowed me to, if I had a little thought, for example, like a little update I had in my head I wanted to put up on the Facebook page, I could easily just whip out my phone and update it on the move. So if I wanted, for example, to take a photo on my iPhone of us on set and then put that on the Facebook page, I could just take a photo on my iPhone and then simply, in about 15 seconds, put it up onto the Facebook page, which was very good, and that just regular Facebook updates just keep everyone, all the people who've liked it, interested and engaged. They feel like something's happening and that the film is making progress, and it keeps them interested. Then they're more likely to see it when it comes out. I'm quickly going to add another thing. We also used SoundCloud to record our evaluation question 1. SoundCloud just allows you to record your voice, basically, and then download it. So that was another thing we used. Piece of new technology. It's a website.